So today I'm very happy and delighted to be able to introduce Robyn Girard-Sanders to be our presenter, and she's going to talk to us about all things having to do with captions. And it's also very exciting for me today because Robyn happens to be deaf. And since the pandemic, we have never had a deaf presenter. And so today our meeting is completely inclusive of the full hearing loss community because Robyn has American Sign Language interpreter here so that she can understand what I'm saying. Now, something that we didn't ask, can you voice for Robyn so that people can hear it on through the microphone?
Yes, the interpreter will be standing here while I sign and they will be voicing for me. Yes.
Thank you. And so it's so exciting for me personally. I can remember the first time that I was ever at an event where there were sign language interpreters, there were people using captions, there were people using their hearing instruments, and just feeling how amazed and wonderful that was that we can live in a world where all of us actually really can communicate together in an event if we have the right equipment. So after the event, if any of you are going to talk to Robyn, something that I know that was hard for me to learn how to do to begin with was because the sign language interpreter is going to be interpreting to Robyn what you say. So my initial inclination was to look at the interpreter, but then you're not looking at the person you're talking to. So I'm just
Correct.
sharing my experience. So you want to look at Robyn.
I fully agree. And you are not the only one.
What she needs to do, and Robyn can see her over your shoulder or whatever.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you.
So Robyn, you can come now.
Perfect.
Today because we're late. Okay, how many people in this room need captions? So all of us. Okay.
A lot of them.
How many of you request them for events? Okay, well, we're lucky we live in the state of California, and Robyn's going to tell you all about this. We're all entitled to California RCC captions, which she'll explain to you. As long as there are 3 people in a meeting, you can request them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Wow, what a wonderful introduction. I'm so thrilled to be here today with you all. My name is Robyn Girard-Sanders. And, we all are here who have hearing loss. And I hope this meeting is very helpful for you. I will give a little bit of my background before we jump into this. I identify as a deaf person, profoundly deaf, which means that I have almost nothing. I don't have any hearing. I was born hearing. However, at birth, I did have pneumonia and I was sick. And at that time, the doctor prescribed a medication. And is the captioning not working?
No,
I'm wondering. Yeah, let's get the captioning up.
Oh,
It's working in Zoom.
so hello, can you hear me? Yeah, there it is.
Great. Awesome. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. Looks like we're all set up now. All right. I also rely on captioning as well, so I know how important it is. Great. Thank you. Thank you for setting that up. So I was mentioning when I was born, the doctor gave me a medication, Gentaminic. It's a medication at that time, the nurses didn't really know that it would cause deafness and hearing loss. So during that time, the doctor was weighing, trying to save my life, but also, in doing that, it caused me to have deafness. I always found really helpful to understand people's backgrounds before and knowing how they lost their hearing. I was mainstreamed. I went to a hearing, which means a hearing school. And then I went to undergraduate school, graduate school with interpreters. So I had access to communication. I do use American Sign Language, which is why you see me here signing to you all. And I do have my interpreter here voicing for me. Without further ado, and now knowing my background, I would like to start this presentation about remote conference captioning. RCC is the abbreviation I will be using. And why do we need captioning? Captioning is such an important part of our lives. For example, this meeting, we're using captioning. At the movie theater, we would use captioning. Workshops, presentations, often there are barriers that you experience, and we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to know what tools are out there for us. And this can be a very difficult task. In California, we have Connect equipment. This is a program in California, and there's a lot of different things that we have access to. And one of them is remote conference captioning. And we're going to talk about how this works. We're going to talk about who needs it, RCC, who needs these services. So it's important for you to maybe think about, maybe I need some of these services. Deaf people, deaf blind people, those that have a difficult time speaking. Maybe you know somebody who had a stroke, for example. This can affect somebody's ability to speak. And this is a life event that is drastic, right? Happens unexpectedly. So if you know someone or a friend who maybe has hearing loss and has a hard time speaking, I would recommend this for them as well. How we benefit from RCC. We are supported by the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and also the FCC. We rely on the ADA to provide protection and rights for those with disabilities. And then the ADA occurred in 1990. It wasn't full-fledged at the time. At that time, the ADA allowed relay call centers to operate here in the US. However, it was part-time. That means that you couldn't go to grab pizza at 2 a.m, or you couldn't, anything that was off hours, right? Anything after hours, any odd hours, I should say, you wouldn't have access. So in 1993, the Federal Communications Commission made it available 24/7. which is so wonderful for all of us. Thank you, FCC. And they've given us equal access to communication. And this was a huge deal. And also, we have special equipment that we need, right? And with technology such as hearing aids, also telecoils, hearing loops, captioning for theaters. There's all these equipment that we can use. And so, isn't that wonderful? Now we have that access 24/7. California Relay Services. I'm going to, I might say California Relay, or I might say CR. I might give it an acronym. So this deaf and disabled telecommunication program here in the state of California, DTP, has done some rebranding recently. And it's easy for all of us, DTP, what is that? Who are they? It's California Connect, so that you guys know. And that program is under CPUC, California Public Telecommunications. And all of that funding we need to provide services to the state of California. So all of that funding is provided, and then you guys get to benefit those free services. And then Hamilton Relay is a company who contracts with the state to provide relay services. So you probably heard of us before as Hamilton Relay, Hamilton Communications. That's us. We are a small town in Aurora. That's their headquarters, Aurora, Nebraska. And that is our contract for the state of California. And some cool facts, we've been providing relay since 1991. So you might remember recently we were talking about the ADA, right? That was 1990. And that wasn't 24/7 access, remember? And then 1993, that's when FCC started. So we've been providing access since 1991, which was shortly after the ADA was passed. The reason why Hamilton Relay is such a great company is because we are committed to customization of our customers and their needs. We have to figure out and balance between what you need and what's available with our technology. So it's very customizable. And I think that's cool. It has evolved over time. And we've become more reliant on technology, right? These are all of these topics. I'm going to go into each of them. Remote conferencing captioning is here at the bottom, and we will go into that. It's very important. You all know who benefits from it, right? I do, you do, everyone benefits from captioning services. A lot of the time, I will go to a workshop, a meeting, and I'll see other people who are hearing, fully functioning hearing, can pick up on everything, but they're also benefiting from the captioning, right? They're watching and reading it. It's not just those who are deaf or hard of hearing or late deafened. So, many people benefit. Sometimes people have hearing loss, and some people have auditory processing challenges. It's muffled or words are not clear and they have a hard time understanding exactly what is being said. So those people also benefit. Maybe you heard recently Bruce Willis. We all know, right? Oh, that was hard. He was one of the greatest stars, of our time, but he was diagnosed with aphasia in his frontal lobe. And so he has dementia. And that caused him to not be able to communicate and understand what's going on. And that's a good example of processing, for example, difficulty processing information. Spanish and English relay is another area that benefits. People who don't know English can benefit from our services as well. Okay. I mentioned this a little bit, but as a collective unit, we are able to use captioning in many settings, meetings, presentations, workshops. And when you hear captioning, you think, oh, great, someone's there in person captioning everything, right? Typing it out. No, that's not true. No one's here typing captions right now, right? Here we have this automated captioning. So maybe you've experienced working with someone who is a captioner, but we make sure that captioning is available through through the internet, when you're on your smartphone, on your computer, anything like that. You would have access to captioning through a web browser. You would have captioning there. Text, simultaneous text would be in real time. After I sign, the interpreter voices for me, right? And then you can see this captioning above happening now. And it's pretty good. So for captioning to work, of course, we have to have a venue. Maybe there's an in-person event, right? There's a service called CART, and that's a service where a person is there captioning. And then there's also remote, where you're participating maybe on a call or everyone's on the phone together and not everyone is in the same room even. So in those scenarios, those would be virtual, right? Like a virtual meeting link would be required. And that could be a telephone number that everyone joins that audio line. And then you also have to have internet, right? Access in order to have these services exactly like what's happening right now. Some people will ask us, why don't you have an app for this? Well, because not everyone has the same phone. Some people prefer to use a computer screen, have a bigger screen, a bigger monitor at home. Maybe you have an iOS system and you have Android, different softwares. And that's the reason why we don't have an app, but we provide access regardless. I need to emphasize something. Those of you who are on the phone must meet the requirements. You must have hearing loss. You must have a hard time understanding what's going on, maybe a cognitive processing challenge. Somebody has to be on the call that meets the state requirements for remote conference captioning services, RCC. So if you are calling a family member, for example, you can use these services, no problem. You have to have a hearing loss, though. That is part of the requirement in order to use the service. Other people are not able to utilize these services, willy-nilly. You have to meet the requirements. There's an online request form that you would fill out, and that's the best way to request RCC services. You must make sure that we has a reasonable ability. Oh, excuse me, interpreter error. You have to give us a reasonable amount of time to process that as well, that form. And then we will schedule a meeting to meet to discuss services. As I said before, they are customizable. And if you're wondering, how do we start receiving these services? You can go to this website here, ca-relay.com. And there's a menu on the left. You'll click that menu and you'll see the word services. And then below that, you will see RCC, remote conference captioning. And that's how you will make a request. The form is right there. You would put your name, the person requesting the services, and SIC will make a request. You would let SIC, or you would let them, the organizer, know, please make this request for remote captioning for me, RCC, and they will fill out the form for you. So you don't have to always have to fill out the form every time you need these services. You will get a confirmation about 24 hours, within 24 hours of filling out the form. If you have maybe an event in 4 hours, that is 4 hours or longer, excuse me, then we do need some time to prepare for that. Make sure we have somewhere ready for that. 4 hours is a long meeting, a long call. If it's a multi-day conference, for example, in Sacramento, there was a conference, the Meals on Wheels, and they had their annual conference there. And it's usually 3 days or 4 days long. And if they request RCC services, of course they can do that. But they do need to request that 5 days in advance. You can't show up with your coffee and go, okay, where are the services? They need to be requested in advance. Another event, I would like, about 48 hours in advance. As early as you can inform us, let us know. That's basically the gist of remote conference captioning. This is a great time for me to take a little bit of a break, give my interpreter a little bit of a break as well. If you can get some water, coffee. We're going to talk about some other services through California Connect, through the state of California. And if you have any questions, remote conference captioning, I want to know more about that. You're more than welcome to ask those. Also, those who are on Zoom, if you have any questions, you can also type them in the chat and we can address those as well during our Q&A. And I really want you guys to take advantage of these services because they are free. We have this funding and it's supported. A lot of people ask me, oh, great, I have a conference call on Sunday at 9 at night. And RCC is available Monday through Friday, but we do want to expand that. But we do need more feedback from people. If there's more requests for during the weekends, then we will be able to extend our services past those hours, those typical, Monday through Friday hours, so that we can be 24, 1 in the morning conference call. I know that that's maybe not super realistic, but it's possible. It does happen. Does anyone have any questions? How are you guys feeling?
How is this different than Zoom? How is this different than Zoom?
Art, CART. You guys use, or who uses captioning here?
We use RCC.
Okay, so RCC, we have this pilot program. So pilot program is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then we want to see more feedback from the community to expand our services over the weekend. Saturday and Sunday to cover those days. So this event, as you can see, RCC is included in Zoom up here. These captioning services are, you can see visually on this meeting, that we are currently using them right now. And Anne also has something to add. Go ahead, Anne.
So I was one of the people who advocated in the state of California for RCC captions. So I was really aware when it was approved and Hamilton expanded their contract to allow that to happen. And we were one of the first groups of people to request RCC captions. Even though we meet on the weekend, they approved our request for them. And so
Yes.
what we do here is at the beginning of the year, I send out our whole schedule for the whole year, and they set us up and put us on the calendar.
And that's very advanced notice, right? That's a great example. Thank you so much, because
Did you get your question answered? I think the question was really, what's the difference between the captioning in Zoom and this? Is that right?
Well, I'm wondering if is the RCC a type of captioning that can be used on Zoom? And
So-
we really talking,
yes.
I mean, we're not conscious as consumers who provides the captioning on Zoom. But in fact, there's more than one company competing for that business. Is that what RCC is? And I don't get what it is.
I would love to talk about that. So in the state of California, our own funding from the California Public Utilities Commission, one provider in the state of California for remote captioning interpreters gathering information. So other states do not have this service. This is specifically offered to California. Not everyone is able to access this service. Sorry, 1 second, I'm catching up. Other states do not have access to this program because they do not have the funding. Well, we are lucky to have that here in California. We have RCC as a service. Okay. For a web,
Jim, do you
Go
want to
ahead.
talk first?
Well, yeah, I wanted to just say that I think part of the issue is that in Zoom, when you turn on captioning, you have a program. That's just a program that, yeah, this is RCC. It's a live captioner. Somebody is listening and typing out what you say. That's the difference.
And Barbara, what you're talking about when you turn on captioning that's part of Zoom,
Right,
that's called automatic speech recognition
yeah,
captioning,
right.
and that's AI. There's
Okay,
not a person there doing that.
okay.
So with RCC captions, so if you look, actually, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
up here. See, it says there, captioner Ellen. So I don't know where Ellen lives. She lives somewhere, not here. And I'm going to pick a place, right? So she's in Illinois at her house, captioning for us. Now you're wondering, well, how can she hear us? So the medium to work through so that she can hear us is Zoom. Even if we didn't have people who we let participate in the meeting via Zoom, we would have a Zoom meeting so that the RCC captioner could connect to us and hear what was happening in this room. Does that make that clear?
I see.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I see.
So the remote is the word that we need to emphasize here. The captioner would jump in the call instantly, be here, be present, right? To caption whatever meeting, phone call, whatever is happening automatically in real time. And I want to clarify that this is not only available via Zoom. This is also available in Microsoft Teams, any of these video conference companies.
So that's why so that you don't get the remote captioner, you get the RCC captioner, right?
No, RCC is remote.
Yes, that is the remote caption.
RCC is the remote.
In this room.
Ellen there is not in the room.
Patient. She is a live person.
Yeah.
She's hearing us, the medium Zoom, because Zoom is connected to the laptop, my laptop. And my laptop is connected to all the audio in this room. And I'm telling you that we get all this to work is really a feat. Okay, so every single thing that comes through a microphone is fed through this box. This box connects to my laptop. And so these ports here connect to the wall here to the PA system.
And we can't hear you.
The whole time, nobody could hear me. I'm so sorry. So Barbara, it connects through this box. So this box connects to my laptop. The audio here goes to the wall connecting to this speaker, my headphone speaker, so that all of you hear, everybody in Zoom hears everybody in the room, and the captioner who's remote, oh shoot. The captioner who's remote, there, the captioner who's remote hears what's being said and can caption within Zoom, like you're seeing up there, or you could also scan this QR code. And another way that we could see it is streamed like that, or there could be another big screen and they would be running on the big screen. So the problem we have in running on the big screen is that we only have one projector. So in order to do it on a big screen, we would need two projectors, okay, and two laptops. Okay, and so this is just
Okay.
easier. But if you scan this, you can get this like what Jim is showing right on your phone.
There's the captions here.
Relay, but
No, you have to scan this. This is stream text. This is coming from the captioner for this meeting. Okay, so this was a code. We get a URL, which is a web address for this meeting. And it's only for this meeting and it changes for every meeting. And Alan made the QR code for that, for our web address to make it easy for people to connect if they wanted to.
Okay, I would like to jump in here. Jim,
Yeah,
is that okay? Or did
I
you-
just wanted to say that I had set up a captioning for a memorial event. A fellow I know is having his memorial service. And so what we did was I set up an RCC with Hamilton, and the beginning of the meeting, people made introductions, and then the captioning kind of went silent for a while as people were eating and carrying on amongst themselves. And then the meeting broke where people made testimonials to this fellow in his life. And so we just worked with the captioning saying, okay, for about the next 20 minutes, we're not going to do anything. And they just kind of went offline. And then we called them back, and that worked out really well. And I've done other meetings where we had a dinner in between the meeting. And so the caption just goes away. I mean, they're still there, but we don't ask them to do anything. And then they come back and then they make announcements or whatever goes on in the meeting. So they're very flexible about how they
Sure.
manage the meetings.
So Barbara, are you wondering why someone would want to have a live captioner versus using the automatic speech recognition captions that you can turn on?
no.
Okay,
That really wasn't my question. I'm beginning to get what you're talking about is really a very different thing than the captioning that you get on your on your phone or on your iPad.
Okay, yeah,
You're talking about accessing a personal captioner for a personal event is what, or a meeting, a small individual meeting. And so then you can it provides you with a way to facilitate captioning for an individual service. I think
Mhm.
I'm beginning to get what you're talking about. Okay.
yeah. So,
Which is-
well, Barbara, I think,
Unless you had your memorial or your meeting in a room that had a loop. If you had it in a room that had a loop, then
Barbara,
you wouldn't need a captioner.
No, that's
But because
Barbara,
You
one
wa-
moment. I'm sorry. I need to interrupt you. So a few things. This is a very unique experience. I understand that for everyone. Your situation, Jim, the memorial was a great example of what you expressed is a great example of what RCC does. We have the captioner, we have everything set up, and it's remote, right? Remote captioning. And he set this up himself, right? He organized that for the memorial. And that is the point here, that you all can do the same. If there's any scenario that you need remote captioning services, you are able to make that request as well. It's different than regular captioning that you've experienced on your phone, right? or capital captioning. It's similar idea where you have captioning appear on your device, your phone, and you have two options. You have automatic software recognition. That's one option. And then there's also, that's a great option. The other one is live communication assisted through the telephone, where there's someone there captioning the capital conversation. So you can have automatic recognition or you can have live. The principle is the same. If you already experienced capital captioning, it's very similar. However, capital communication, excuse me, there's two different ways to communicate. Remote captioning is just one way. You won't be able to respond on the capital phone conversation. And Anne, of course, go ahead.
I've never the term before, capital communications, capital captioning. I've never heard that. Can you please explain what that is?
Captel captioning is on
Maybe
the phone.
the captioner didn't, we got the captions wrong on that. You meant Captel Communications?
Yes, Captel Communications.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. So Captel, you see there on the phone, is very similar to what we're doing remotely with RCC. And you guys are used to Captel, so you understand what that is like. And this is very similar. I want to give my interpreter a little bit of a break. So if you don't mind, we can have 2-3 minutes and then we can come back. And I'll be around. If you have any questions, you can come up to me and ask whatever comes to mind. But let's just take, I'll say until 11:05 or 11:07, somewhere around there. Great. Thank you so much.
That you don't need captions. That if you want to have a fully accessible venue, you have to offer captions because the majority of us in this room need captions and the hearing loop. The hearing loop is not enough.
Having the hearing loop is not enough,
Correct.
so. And so you're saying that in addition to the loop, then you have a caption.
Correct.
So if you had,
So all of the HLAA meetings, as long as I've been a member, which is since 2009, we've had a hearing loop and captions.
so, and now it's required.
No, I'm saying if you want to have a fully accessible meeting, you said, oh, if you have a hearing loop, you don't need captions. And I'm expanding on that.
I said, what I was thinking is that he said he had a memorial service. Did the place that they had the memorial service?
They had an FM.
Yeah, but in addition, they requested the CC, is that
RCC captions, correct.
CC captioning, and they could do that it's done remotely.
Well, the definition for RCC, the first word is remote.
Is all remote caption. So then you would need a screen that the captioning comes on at the memorial service
Correct.
to provide. But the idea is that you don't need personal, that you don't need a screen, because you want somebody to be just talking.
The people need to have some place to see the captions.
No, they don't have captioning. They have people that they can hear. So then they just need captioning in addition to whatever assistive listening that the loop provides, then they need captioning as well.
Jim prefers both.
And then you have a screen. So I'm just thinking at church where they have a loop, which I rely on. But in addition to that, could request captioning. And
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can a church request RCC captions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I didn't know the answer to that.
Yeah, for church services, many churches, the word is remote, right? The word, hold on. The key word here is remote. First, is someone have hearing loss? Yes, right? We qualify now. And you are there in the same room? No, the person is not there in the same room. It's not possible. They have to call in remotely to use the remote conference captioning. Suppose you're traveling. You know, a lot of churches now, they'll have Zoom, right? They'll have remote services through a webinar, and you would call in for captioning service for that. But if it is in the same room and that captioner is in the same room as the event, that is not possible. They have to be remote. The key word is remote.
Barbara
If
understood
they're
that
in the
about the
same-
remote. She understood that about the remote.
if the church service is on Zoom, there's already captioning.
Well, Zoom automatic speech recognition captions, which are called ASR, are not as accurate as a live captioner.
Because they're really already. And YouTube has captioning, but this is considered more accurate.
The gold standard. No, CART. This is remote CART. CART is considered the gold standard for captions. A live captioner is typing. And what's different with CART that's not remote, there would be a person sitting right here connected. That's in person. This is CART, but remote.
Yes. So that's a wonderful example. Thank you. That's a great resource, Anne. I'm glad that you're here. But one thing that I should add is that CART often is used as a captioning service. It's a captioning service, right? And they are certified. They are premier, just like court interpreters and captioners, right? They are certified. They have those qualifications. They are the top of the line in terms of their abilities. Whereas YouTube is AI, right? And not accurate all the time. And also, the words per minute that can be produced is a lot slower in comparison. Say the video is playing, but the captioning is a little bit behind, where a captioner who is certified, they can provide captioning that is right on time with what's being said.
Okay. I'm beginning to get what the difference is and seeing that it's an improved, a new and improved kind of captioning.
No, it's not really new. Remote captioning has existed for,
It's not,
Ever.
it's technically been here for a long time. It's just recently we've been able to take the technology and transition it into remote conference captioning.
conscious, so it
that service.
wasn't, it's more available for these purposes when you want really accurate caption.
Well, so before RCC Captions, we paid a live captioner. It was before the pandemic. Alan and I didn't want to
And that was very
how to
expensive.
connect all of the technology to make this work. We paid between $225 and $400 per meeting for a captioner. And now we
Mhm.
get, because we're using it remotely, we have a captioner and the state is giving us that for free.
Right, right.
Right. And now it costs us nothing. I'm also going to talk about what California Connect can do for all of you too. Where did Jim go? Well, I know that there's a lot of people who have concerns about the federal funding. And I will tell you that yes, right now we have this service available for us in the state of California. And the state of California has funded this significantly. And it is built in the infrastructure to have this program. And so I have confidence that this program will continue and it will continue to benefit RCC. But it is important that we need to make sure that people are aware of this need, right? And that these services do exist. So that way people go, oh, that's great. We have these things available. Awesome. And the legislation can keep this in the budget. We need to be as visual as possible and use these services. Okay. Thank you so much for all these comments. We're going to talk about California Connect. There's a clear difference between California Connect and California Relay. California Connect is a state equipment program. California Relay is the service provider, equipment and service provider, and they do work together. So when you need equipment, it would be through California Connect. And there's a lot of different, like CapTel phone, maybe fire alarms, lots of different equipment that is accessible. There's also alarms for your bed that will vibrate to wake you up, or even something in your pillow that helps you wake up. None of you guys have that? What do you use as your alarm? Every morning, that is how I wake up. And that is free through California Connect. Any equipment that you need would be provided by them. Now, California Relay is the service provider. Maybe you already know what relay service is. It's the way that we all of us communicate on the phone. It depends on your needs. For example, there's different equipment. Maybe you don't need equipment. Maybe you just need an app. And I'll explain a little bit how that works. How do you make a relay call? It looks a lot like this image here. Say that's me or you, right, sitting here. And there's a communication assistant who facilitates that call. And we do have options. It could be automatic software recognition, or it can be communication assisted. You have choices. And there's people ask me, which one's better? What do you prefer? I always am an advocate of providing real people, people jobs, right? So communication assistant is a real person who jumps in on the call to caption what's happening. And I always advocate for that. But you have choice and you can pick which one that you prefer. And even in the middle of the call, you can transfer between these two options. Maybe the software isn't really helpful, not working well, then you can jump to a communication assistant. And this cute girl here, maybe it's your niece, right? Who's on the phone and wants to talk to you. And this is that dynamic. Communication assistant. They are an important part. And the Federal Communications Commission, they require that the communication assistant is completely confidential. They do not share the conversations that occur. They do not save your bank information, your personal information that may be shared. That is illegal. And they are not allowed to. So your information is protected. TTY, who knows what TTY is? Yes, TTY is still around. It's a technology that requires, and it kind of looks like this device here. Almost looks like a typewriter in a way. The phone is there, and the technology was really popular. Thank you so much, Anne, for closing the door. This technology was really popular in the 80s, 90s, when people needed access right away. So this was a great tool. Rural areas are mainly where this is used. This service is offered and not used much anymore, but it is a service that is offered. VCO, voice carryover phone. It looks like this. There's this keyboard here, and it will provide one line of text at a time. And you'll be able to see what the other person is saying while it creates that text, voice carryover through the phone. Same as CapTel in a way. If you'll notice, there's a lot of people who like VCO, and they can also transfer over to a CapTel phone. The captioning is kind of covering up this border here. This is where a person has a hard time maybe speaking, but they can hear well. So they would type back to they would type their response back, and they would get audio. Maybe those who have a speech disability, who experienced a stroke even, this is a great option for them. This is speech to speech. It's for people who specifically have had like a stroke or something that prevents them from speaking. They can listen. There's no special equipment needed. There's an app that they would use. And this is called speech to speech. And this is another option that we provide. And it requires a lot of training. There's different communication assistance training for speech to recognize patterns. And those folks, I'm very impressed. They are really great at understanding the patterns. It's a specialty. They're trained very well. All right, and then we have deaf blind services. I think we all have vision here, right? We all can see well. I mean, yes, we have glasses, but I'm not considered blind. I have glasses, but this is for people who are deaf and blind, who identify as, deaf. Maybe they were deaf first and then they became blind, or vice versa. It could be a tough situation. When you've lost your hearing, things can start to change rapidly, and you really recognize how dependent you were on your hearing, and then to not have your vision. Wow. Having that combo is really difficult, and how to navigate life with that is challenging. But California Relay does have services for this. They have tele-braille communication. Tele-braille through the phone is also available, and it is through California Connect. So they feel the braille through whatever conversation is being said. And I don't know anything about braille. I cannot read braille, but those who use it, they said this has saved their life. And if you know someone who is losing their vision and hearing, maybe they can learn braille and access this service. And I understand that braille is, difficult to probably learn, but this option is out there for them. We also have Spanish Relay. How cool, right? We are able to provide services to people who speak Spanish, and they can call this other person who knows Spanish, or, Spanish to Spanish conversations. And the captioner knows Spanish, right? But the question is, what if one person knows English and the other person knows Spanish? How does that work? Well, we have communication assistants for that conversation to translate between the two languages. Maybe this person who speaks English doesn't know Spanish, but this person knows Spanish and doesn't know English. It's really helpful when you're trying to communicate between two languages. This is great in many situations where you can navigate a bilingual conversation. Say, like, part of your family even is moving here, right, from Mexico or another country that only speaks Spanish, and their kids speak English or use English. They can use this service. It's pretty cool. You may be aware of using Relay in the state of California is under Hamilton, right? And you can adjust the customer's preferences online. You can customize your preferences, and there's many options. You can change the background color. It's really important that you figure out what works for you, and there's all of these different accommodations. Speed dial is also there. You don't have to dial phone numbers each time. You can save phone numbers. There's also a connection mode, preferred services used on every relay call, greetings and messages. So who uses CapTel? One person. Wow. Okay. CapTel would be set up in your home like this here. There's several different models. Some models are required to have a landline, which means your phone landline at home, save it, keep it, preserve it. It's a resource here in California. And AT&T, they've stopped installing new landlines. And so AT&T says, people don't use the landline anymore. That's a big problem for people who are remote in rural areas who, need to have a landline. AT&T is trying to back out of installing new landlines in the state of California. Oof. This is a problem. They're a little bit resistant of installing these phone lines. So that's one problem that we have been noticing. I wanted to mention that just so that you could keep that in mind should this be something you use. CapTel phone features. You can change the font size on the screen to be bigger. You can change the colors, and that's an important feature. One thing that people love is the answering machine. You can see it on the screen, who's calling. There's caller ID. And one thing here, which is amazing, and I know for myself, with my business calendar, okay, someone's calling me, but I have no way to remember exactly when my doctor appointment is. Was it Tuesday? 2 o'clock? 4 o'clock? Oh, I can't remember. So I can look back and review the captioning and see what message was left. Oh, right. It was at 2 o'clock. So anytime a call is finished, you can review the caption and see any information you need to jot down. There's one touch button. And what is that? That's customer care. So if you have any problems, you press that button and you'll connect to customer service and they'll work you through whatever issue you're having right away. California Connect, what is available is this here. Again, you need a landline. It is landline based. And it looks like this. It's a great size. It's small. You can put it on the kitchen counter. I know sometimes we have little small areas in the kitchen, not much room. Like, to the right or left of an oven, a small little countertop space, and it fits perfectly there. It's great. This is another version or model, CapTel 840i. Means internet, I for internet. It has internet abilities. So it's the landline and also Wi-Fi connect. It's the same look, same style. It's white. It's very similar, but those are some options, some models. Then there's this one, the 2400i. This is larger. And the text is a little bit larger as well. However, this is different because it has a touch screen. So you can change the font size and everything through the touch screen. How many of you like touch screen versus not? Yeah, there's a mix out here, right? Oh, touch screen, I like it. It's, my preference, but some they don't like it. They're more old school. They like buttons, right? So there's options depending on what your preference is. And this is the internet. They do have an internet only version. And they also have a landline version. And remember I mentioned here the California Connect equipment program through the state of California. That's one entity. You can get the 840 plus at no cost. You can go to the website and apply there. We also have applications here. This is what the application looks like for those who are on Zoom. This paper on this application, you would fill it out. And then the bottom is the medical, sorry, one moment, professional information, medical professional information. I know many of us, you'll get transferred to a doctor, an audiologist, and you're on a wait list for 6 months or, you know, before I get to see my doctor. So this is one situation here that not a lot of doctors are available in the state of California. You know, my health is okay, but I still need to wait 2 years to see my doctor. I know that it can be tough. So this is one problem that we are aware of within California Connect. So we do have the medical professional piece of that application that needs to be filled out. You can also order at no cost. Where is this form? The Hamilton CapTel order form. If you don't mind, on the back You want to make a phone call. I'm calling a business. And I just want to order a pizza, a 12-inch pizza with veggies. That's it, right? Simple. I want to call, place this order for the pizza, and then it hangs up. How many of you have had problems with this, right? These situations, and this has happened so many times for me where it's hung up and it drives me crazy. This is a really friendly business. I'm using my interpreter here to help her become a really friendly business. They make sure that these businesses are relay certified. We give them free training for their business. We are legit, right? We provide an important service for people who can't hear. And we want these relay calls to work. So they will go in and train these companies to ensure that they are able to provide you what you need, like your 12-inch pizza. So this is a good resource to have. And they will contact us to set up training. This is one of my favorite things about what we offer. Oh, I understand. My bad. That might be the reaction that we get sometimes, but sometimes in the doctor or the medical office, more important situations than a pizza, right? It's really important that these people are trained in this service. You don't want to get hung up on in a scenario that's as serious as your health. All right, so we talked about these first two, and this last one, this is direct CaliforniaRelay.com, right? There's a direct purchase for $75. So these first two are free options. And then there's this last one. If you want internet-based phone, you could pick the Hamilton order form if that meets your needs. Okay. Like I already mentioned, CapTel, we've talked about this. And this is another option we do for business offices, those who are business owners. And that is it. I know that's a lot of information, and I thank you guys for bearing with me through this. We have so much information up here. And I'm so sorry for those that are on Zoom. You won't get to have these free pens and other things that we're offering up here. If you'd like to take one of these. Thank you so much for having me here, and I really appreciate you staying through all the technical issues. Thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it over to Anne.
Robyn, we're so happy that you could come today and tell us the full range of the services that Hamilton offers. I learned a whole bunch of things today that I didn't know. So, Jim, were you saying that it's not in the right place? Can you hear me now? Thank you. Always have to have that in the right place. We have a few additional pieces. We've already done questions and answers, so we don't have that. We have some announcements. Our meeting next month is going to be about something that's very exciting to a lot of people in the hearing loss industry. Excuse me, I don't mean industry. The hearing loss community, and it's going to be captioning glasses. And we're fortunate they're like around 5 companies that are working on these, and this company is a local company, and you can even have your own prescription lenses put in the glasses and captions run across the front of the glasses. So he's going to be here to talk about that. In May, we also have the Walk for Hearing, and you really need to come. And I'm going to be sending out our donation request. You need to come and you need to support our chapter. But even if you decide not to support the chapter, the location where the Walk for Hearing is absolutely, totally magnificent. It's on the water in Alameda. It is the best view I have ever seen of San Francisco from any place. And usually the weather is not really hot this time of year. It's really comfortable. You know, you're a little bit, you wear your vest in the morning and then, you know, in an hour later, you're just in your long sleeve sweatshirt or sweater. In June, we're also having a presentation. It's the beginning of the travel season for all of us. And so there are specific things that are important for you to know about in traveling, like TSA cares, also to make sure to let the airline know that you are hard of hearing and you need assistance. And so I'm going to be giving a presentation about that. And then toward the middle of June, we have the Walk for Hearing in Indianapolis. And I've been asked by Bluetooth SIG to be part of a panel discussion at the convention, and I've accepted. If you haven't been to a convention before, you can still attend. One of the things that I think for most people, at least the first time they go, we think that there aren't that many of us. And all of a sudden you're in a place where every single venue has a hearing loop and captions. All of the hundreds of people that you're surrounded by all have hearing loss. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to. People are sharing anecdotes, laughing together. It's a really wonderful camaraderie. I highly recommend it. Of course, we're always looking for people for our programs committee, and you all know I'm a dyed-in-the-wool advocate, and Jim has joined my committee with me, and we welcome anybody else. We need to advocate at both of our airports, San Francisco and Oakland, for accommodations that we need, and also to become part of the Sunflower Network, and I'll talk about that more next time. We have a YouTube channel for our meetings, and the most important thing, this year is the 35th anniversary of the ADA. See the picture on the left there? See that young woman on the stairs there? That's what it took to get the ADA passed. This was not some easy feat. So we need to really honor what people before us did, and we need to make sure that we ask for the communication access that we need because we're entitled to it. I know people who've been part of HLA for a long time who have severe to profound hearing loss, and I talk to them, oh, you're going to your doctor. Did you ask your doctor for communication access for your appointment? Well, no. Well, if you don't ask for it, we're not going to get it. So it's always my reminder, I'm planting seeds. We never know when they're going to grow. I wish that we had huge plants, trees of them that had taken place. Where can you get this? Just about everywhere. The ADA has 4 titles. It covers everything. Now, the only piece that we have right now is I'm terrified our current president is going to totally dismantle it. And every day I just get goosebumps with the latest news about that. But I'm sure that we're probably going to see some changes. So what is communication access? And people who have hearing loss have a hard time even relating to this. The accommodations that we need are no different than wheelchair access for somebody with mobility issues. It helps us the same way ramps help people with mobility issues. Their issues aren't more than ours or less than ours, and ours aren't more than theirs or less than theirs. We all need help. You know, we host our monthly meetings the first Saturday of the month, and obviously I didn't update my slide here because March has passed, so our next meeting is going to be in May. So we are right on the button for how long our captioner, our RCC captioner is scheduled to caption for us. Ellen, thank you so much. You know, we highly value you and couldn't do this without you. And you did a fabulous job today of doing all the captions. Thanks very much. Does anybody in the Zoom
Yay.
have a question before we close or something that they want to share? Does anybody in the room have anything? So you're going to be getting some information from me about a bill that is for the third time going through our legislature. Originally, it was Let California Kids Hear. It went past the legislature twice and the governor vetoed it. This year it went in for California Kids Hear and they approached it from a different way. The way they approached it was to get the language in our insurance descriptions changed to include hearing loss for kids. The legislature has just expanded it to include adults too. So the Let California Kids Hear decided this time they have they want everybody to sign a letter. They figure that if everybody was together, it maybe has more impact. So I received my communication from them yesterday, and I want all of us in California who have hearing loss who are adults to also start a petition. So I'm going to be sending things out to all of you. Please sign both of them. Sign everything. We don't want the governor to
Yes.
come up with some reason why he thinks it's not okay. We all know it's okay. We all know we need it. And heavens knows, you know, hearing aids aren't made in the United States, so we just got a tariff put on them. And so the prices are going to go up. We have one hearing aid company that's made in the United States, but the parts aren't made here. So there are going to be tariffs on that. So those are going to go up too. So we need to make our voices heard. We need to let everybody know what we want. Thank you very much for coming today. Please help yourself to any of the literature on the table here. And I know Robyn brought a whole box of goodies. And I know that I can never have enough glasses cleaning cloths. So please
Yes.
make a glass cleaning cloth. And Robyn has
We
glasses.
do have the glass cleaning cloths and also have some pens and phone holders in that little box. And I will bring them around for all of
It's
you.
right here. No, Robyn.
Oh, yes. Here
So
you
thank
go.
you very much for coming and bring your friends next time.
Thank you.
Bye.